Trapmore gang, it seems like David's team is panicking. They're doing anything that they can to distance themselves from the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the 14-year-old girl who was unfortunately found deceased in the trunk of singer David's Tesla, parked near the home in Hollywood that he was renting. And there's been a lot of talk, a lot of finger pointing about the teams and the people involved. And it seems like one of his managers from one of the little finesses that he had going on with these guys, they were involved in his career, they're all distancing themselves from him, saying, I didn't know nothing. Apparently, some of these people that are distancing themselves from him are being called out for the cap, and they're doing anything they can to avoid accountability. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about his alleged manager, Josh Marshall, aka Josh Mogul, whose label Mogul Vision was apparently listed as inactive in the state of Florida after the discovery of Celeste, with no annual report in 2025 ever being submitted, leading to the dissolution. But people in the comments are actually saying that he had basically moved his business to Puerto Rico. Maybe it's for tax reasons, maybe because the heat's getting a little bit hot in the United States, or, well, I mean, you know, heat's getting a bit hot in the mainland, all right? So it's looking a little bit hot, right? People are saying, but David's innocent, right? But David transferred property back to his parents, leaving him without any assets. Mogul Vision has been dissolved and restarted in Puerto Rico, and David hired the Hollywood attorney that repped Johnny Depp, Mel Gibson, Kanye, and Leonardo DiCaprio, and many more coincidences, okay? People are saying, not very mogul of their vision. Oh, heck, they filed for dissolution in September. It's a bit telling on the timing. They knew it was all over. Now, people are saying, I'm no legal, but this is 100% to protect his own ass from civil liability from if and when the shit hits the fan and David is implicated in Celeste's demise. Money? What money? I don't got no money. You can't sue if the defendant has no funds on paper. Now, people are saying that Jay Mogul and his wife just want to keep living the good life, which no doubt she'll continue to openly and shamelessly flaunt on her Instagram account. I'm not going to lie, he's got a hot wife. Right, he does have a hot wife. People are saying, ew, I didn't need to see all that. But yes, just like the wife of Derek Chauvin divorced her husband when he was found guilty to protect assets, I foresee a dissolution in marriage in the next few months between these two do the same. Now, that is pretty savage, all right, when it comes to just preying on people's downfall. But at the same time, we want to know why then nobody wanted to do nothing about Celeste. Like, y'all know about what was going on with Celeste. So, you know what I'm saying? It seemed like she was backstage behind the scenes plugged into what was going on. So, you know, they're apparently saying in the grand jury, they're saying to the other guy, Robert Morgenroth, like, why didn't you call the police? I'm wondering. Now, interesting is people saying, wow, must be a nice life with that $250K they stole. And I'll explain to you what this alleged stolen $250,000 is all about in a minute. But what's interesting, people here, they're pointing out, curiously, Josh Marshall filed a more recent and apparently active business registration for Mogul Vision in Puerto Rico in November of 2024. Puerto Rico has become a destination for the US businesses trying to avoid federal taxes. It's a legal tax haven for the rich who don't want to pay taxes, okay? So basically, people are saying they're trying to protect themselves asset-wise. Moving things to Puerto Rico, is that to basically help being sued? It's still part of the United States, but people are saying Josh Marshall deceived the landlord by illegally moving David into that mansion. The landlord lease was with Marshall and said so. Marshall can now be sued because it's considered fraud in California that when a person signs a lease in their name, deceiving the landlord, moving other people in, he can now sue them, and Josh should be worried. People are saying it's not illegal to have people subletting unless it's stipulated in the lease, but it is a breach of contract. This will be a civil matter. No one's going to jail over it, but at best, Josh would end up with a judgment against him if the homeowner can prove he had a loss. He can definitely sue for his back rent, though. Okay, people are saying he can't sublet it. Go see California law. It's considered fraud, and it's against the law when you lie on a legal lease that you're living there and move others in. It's deception. Look it up. All right. So apparently Josh is operating under Mogul Vision Latin LLC now, which is active. So some people are saying this doesn't mean anything. He's starting new businesses in different names, all that kind of thing. All right. People are saying it's very convenient because David moved all his stuff to his mother's name and Josh did all of this in September. Something panicked them both. They're probably getting ready for lawsuits. They're saying this is why his info was wiped from David's official Facebook page too. Okay, and basically the people just go, I'm not going to show anything too interesting. That stuff wasn't that interesting. But it says it looks like the government dissolved them since Josh didn't file anything, so the action was done by the government, not Josh himself. But it says he probably didn't want to submit his annual report because his money is funny and he didn't pay the taxes. Now, look, I'm not seeing no proof that his money is funny. But what some people are doing is they're actually dragging up stuff from the past and basically calling him out. So this is, I'll keep it real, this is washed up rapper Skinny from the Nine, okay, basically saying Josh Marshall stole $250K from him to start the Mogul Vision label. This says, J Mogul, aka Josh Marshall, took advantage of my hunger as a young artist and finessed me for $250K when I signed my deal to LA Reid. He promised he would have my best interest at heart. Instead, he pocketed the 250 grand and used it to jumpstart his company. Look at what he's involved in now with the David situation. Facepalm, all right? And basically, he's Skinny from the Nine put it up on TikTok to basically say that, you know, he don't rock with the way that Josh did business with him. And basically people are saying, yes, Josh Marshall is the Mogul Vision executive who claimed to be hands-off with his clients when trying to distance himself from David and the murder of Celeste, even though David and his entire family went to Josh Marshall's fairly intimate, though very posh wedding in Italy. Yes, that's the same Josh Marshall photographed at the Fonda Theatre in Los Angeles at David's show, sitting next to David's mother and Celeste on the balcony. People saying, Mr. I don't have much interaction with David, had David and his whole family at his private wedding, contradicts anything he says. Dumb as F. People saying, this is kind of where we all raised our eyebrows. David's family, when I saw him singing at the wedding, I thought maybe it was just an obligation, but his parents attended, and it wasn't a huge wedding with hundreds of people in attendance. People saying, to this day, I can't believe he said that. I read his comment in real time like 2 minutes after he left it because I was watching the video he commented under. What a piece of effing dirt. That's how I know you're guilty. Why the hell would you defend yourself in a random comment section? Right? People saying, lol, in case you've forgotten, we in this sub remember everything. In all honesty, this tracks some wealthy dude stealing and doing shady shit, swindling young people to rise to the top and start his own thing. That's no surprise, and it's good that he's getting called out if this is what happened. A young aspiring artist believing a town elder like Josh had their best interest in mind rings true to me. Sweet talker, high roller, flashing nice things and talking big. That's how he got him down, man. People saying it makes sense why David, aka Josh, was behind on the rent. And people say I wouldn't be surprised if he was stealing from David as well. The overall controller of that whole group, the mentor, teacher, and program are very central. This is people's opinions, okay? I can't vouch for this information, but it just is interesting, the vitriol against Josh and basically just anyone who enabled David to operate during this period when a little girl lost her life. Says, I really hope anyone affected by these people gets justice at this point. There really seems to be a pattern of behavior surrounding Mogul Vision, and I don't understand how there isn't more information circulating regarding their shitty behavior on larger media. Skinny from the Nine has faced some kidnapping and assault. Lil Mosey was an effing alleged R-word. I think he was found not guilty of that in the end. And now David, a PDF, allegedly. How much more can be uncovered by artists that Josh or Rob have worked with? And in the case of people they work with or have worked with, do birds of a feather just flock together, or is it all just magically some sort of coincidence? I know I wouldn't want to publicly associate or work with people who don't share my values. And people saying music industry management, you'll never find more of a wretched hive of scum and villainy. Suge Knight, Diddy, a living proof, and the bottom feeders connected to David Anthony Burke, right? People saying not only that, but the majority of his proteges end up burning out of the industry in the worst way. Some went to prison for shit like rape, and others ended up flat broke. He does not mentor these young artists. It seems like he picks inner city kids to exploit. I posted about this back in September. They're saying he is a totally morally bankrupt creature. I'm not sure we're dealing with humans anymore. I don't condone that comment. I don't condone dehumanizing anybody. I feel like even this is taking it a little bridge too far. So I disagree with that comment. I'm going to give that a downvote. Because no matter what, even if you're an enabler, you're a finesser, we're all human at the end of the day, okay? Even, I'm not defending David saying this, but like even murderers, even the most deranged murderers, and I'm not even inferring that David's a deranged murderer, but even the most deranged murderers, they're all human at the end of the day, okay? Humans are flawed. Some humans are flawed to the point where they need to spend life in jail. All right, but we're all humans at the end of the day. Nothing can remove your humanity, even if you do horrible, drastic, nasty things. Okay, so let's just keep that clear. But anyway, people are saying this guy's one of the biggest frauds I've seen in this case. It's really easy to succeed when you have 250,000 floating around you. People say, not sure I've seen people fuck up 250K like nothing. It's crazy. Josh looking worse by the day. Karma forgets nobody. Not defending Josh at all, but Skinny from the Nine has been involved in sketchy stuff too. He's used bad situations and people to try and climb back up, despite his music quality degrading with time. In my opinion, take this with a grain of salt. You need more than 200K to make a successful management company. People saying, are we really believing anything Skinny from the Nine says, though? He's not exactly a reliable character witness. He's been trying to stay relevant for years when he tried to be a close friend with Soulja Boy. Now, the last thing I want to leave you with, which is probably the most damning on this situation, they're basically saying Josh Marshall spoke once, but the access tells a different story. All right? I'll read you the post and I'll show you some of the pics. All right, but here's a bad look. Josh Marshall, David's manager, made a single public statement via a TikTok comment and said it would be the only time he would speak on the matter. In that comment, and I do believe the comment is at the end of this carousel, whoopsie daisy. I believe that comment is coming up. Have they deleted it? Are they going to delete it for the guys? Come on. All right, this is the post, right? He basically said in response to a video that was calling him out on TikTok, he said, "This video is false and the person is misinformed. This is the only time I'll speak on this matter for now. This has been a tough time for my family as I'm a father of 3 children. Boo-hoo." All right. I received no emails and I'm no one's roommate. I live full-time at home with my wife and kids. Now, the implication, people were saying that he had received an email saying that Celeste was missing and that she needs to go back home, and she was delivered home a few days after this message was alleged to have been sent, but he claims he never saw no message. And now here comes the sympathy. He says, "My daughter is 14, same age as Celeste when she died, and this news is affecting so many lives." Again, you're not really worthy of sympathy in this situation, but okay. It says, "I never received any emails, had zero knowledge of anything, and I don't live in California. Also, I work remotely 95% of the time, and my job doesn't require me to have much interaction with any of my clients or David, as there are many others that work with him on a day-to-day capacity, not me. The news is tragic for so many and for her family. I hope the proper authorities get to the bottom of it soon. Let me remind people, a lot of this is speculation and alleged, so let's give David a little out there, shall we? In the meantime, I'm with my family, helping them emotionally get through the news of this tragedy. Please report on..." We don't really have sympathy for Josh Marshall, and then this post is basically going to tear him to shreds, all right? This basically explains how in the comment he said he had no knowledge of everything, he's not anyone's roommate, he doesn't live in California, yada, 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 it's nothing to do with him, let's all be sympathetic for him. His role doesn't require interactions with David, and it's been so hard for his family. But people saying, "I first saw concerns about these contradictions raised during a Mark the Shark's YouTube live, which I'll link here for transparency. But what really stands out is how much Josh's statement conflicts with documented proximity and access, aka reality. First, the claim of limited interaction does not align with evidence showing Josh on tour with David, including the dates before Celeste's body was found. That directly contradicts the idea that he was removed from day-to-day or physical presence. Second, I'm sharing photos and videos from April 2025 with faces covered, showing Josh's 14-year-old daughter and a friend backstage at David's Coachella performance. This was not a public area or casual environment. Coachella backstage access is tightly controlled and limited to artists, management, label staff, and approved guests. In the footage, the girls are not simply present, they're interacting directly with David in artist-only spaces. All right, let's see it. So, Mr. I don't have much connection, all right? Bruh. Like, not only is his daughter the same age as Celeste, but she kind of looking like there looks to be some similarities with like her and Celeste as far as like the hair color and stuff. It's a bit chilling. But basically, they all backstage, they all having fun, they all tapped in. Robert Morgan-Roth's there too. The decoy Celeste is there. You all one big happy family by the looks of it. So capping, like, I was never around David, but I wouldn't brought my kids around. No way. It says, for additional context, Josh's daughter was not the only person present in these restricted areas. Others seen in the same spaces included Asia, Celeste Herrera, and Neo, along with members of management and label leadership like Lane Cooperstein, Robert Morgan-Roth Jr., and Oliver Jordan. This raises serious questions. Who authorized backstage passes for minors? Under what safeguards? And if Josh's role requires minimal interaction with David, how are family members gaining this level of access? There is more. In August 2025, roughly 4 months after the Coachella appearance, Josh shared a photo of his daughter that shows a noticeable shift in presentation compared to earlier images. I'm not speculating about why, but I'm just pointing out when. Timing matters, and evaluating how close management families were to this environment, why this situation would be especially difficult for any parent. Josh asked for empathy as a father, and that makes sense. But when management is this close and families have this level of access, the risks stop being theoretical, and it's not about accusing anyone's child of anything. It's about asking why children were placed in these spaces at all and what responsibility management holds for allowing that access. Josh said this would be the only time he speaks. Given the contradictions between his statement and the documented tour presence, backstage access, and proximity, one comment does not feel sufficient, especially when the safety of minors is part of the conversation. People can draw their own conclusions. I'm simply laying out what's verifiable. I'm including several photos to provide context. All minors' faces are censored. Backstage photos from April 2025 show Josh's daughter, a friend, David's inner circle, management, and label executives all together in artist-only spaces. All right, and that's basically explaining what all the pictures are. And people said, let's not forget, David was at Josh's private wedding. So basically, all right, everybody is pointing this out. Let's not forget David and Mogul Vision history lesson when David and his family went to Josh Marshall's wedding in Italy in 2023. David and his whole family, Josh Marshall, there getting busy, all right? Locking it down with his hot wife. The whole fam is there. The whole fam. Robert Morgenroth and David, David's parents and his little sister, the groom, Josh Marshall. David there doing a speech or a performance. What are we doing here, people? There he is, all right? It says, this week, TMZ reported on both Mogul Vision partners Rob Morgenroth and Josh Marshall being close to their client David, with Rob now known to be testifying before a grand jury this week in LA that's investigating the murder of Celeste. Seems like an opportune time for a quick history lesson for anyone that's catching up on the case. Remember when Josh Marshall claimed he didn't work very closely with clients like David after a dead body was found at his Tesla? That didn't ring exactly true for the early internet sleuths who could still hear Josh's wedding bells ringing via his wife's Instagram account, Follow D, where she posted pics still up of Josh's wedding in the summer of 2023 in Italy, where David and his parents and his little sister were wedding guests. Don't worry, Rob was there too. The kicker, David even sang at the wedding. D still celebrates this on IG. How nice. People saying they really don't like his parents. There's something a bit off about them. Wow, this is a really good catch, especially with the new stuff coming out. I'm noticing a trend of people saying, oh, I didn't know, or I didn't do that, and it's just a ring of immature monsters that don't want the blame of a dead miner on them. I hope justice is served. The poor girl was lost in a world of predators. Do we know the person who was standing near David's mom? I seen this dude in the Fonda pictures. Also, F Josh Marshall. I don't know anything about it. Sick freak, right? Forget Mogul Vision. Josh seems to have all the vision with that Mega Mind 5-head lineup. Ouch. Too bad he didn't see this coming. He should have had a head start on everything. Maybe that's what happens when you keep these thoughts to yourself. All right. Man, this shit crazy. All right. Here they go, both Rob and Josh standing behind David like they're glorified security guards. Mr. I'm not in the same state sure was standing behind him when he was wearing that pink Hello Kitty celestial hoodie that he wore on tour. Okay, it is a rough one. All right, it's a rough one. So, obviously, furthermore, people saying, as a daughter of a guy well favored in the industry, backstage passes get handed out like candy for the children of industry heads. I have fond memories of going to see the Edge, going to the Edge to see Smash Mouth when I was 8 and walking around the back with the roadies. So some people are saying this doesn't necessarily mean that there was a lot of access given, but seems like he was pretty close to David. No doubt Josh Marshall is a bitch, and he lied, and he had zero knowledge of David's actions. I do think Celeste was long gone until Coachella. And people saying, I'm confused by what do you mean a noticeable shift in the presentation talking about his daughter? People are just saying she grew up, right? But it's interesting that she has actually Celeste's age. That is quite chilling. So people are saying it's normal to see kids backstage at somewhere like Coachella, so that's fair enough. People saying the presentation bit, I see now she went from kiddie bopper to edgy teen like David and Celeste. So people are saying maybe she was, I think people are inferring that maybe she was trying to be cool and emulate the personalities that she was spending time around, maybe, but that is people just growing up, so I don't feel like that's really even fair to go that far. Oh my God. The only thing he will have intimate knowledge is of the finances. No doubt he will have a complete grasp of how much he can now retain and withhold and encumber until David Anthony Birth is banged up in prison. This must have been an English person who's saying banged up. Then the real manipulation will begin, siphoning off funds, creating new companies to hide income. Oh, the places Mr. Marshall will go, all the time beating his chest and proclaiming his purity. The chain, he's trying to cover his own ass. All right. People aren't understanding the significance. Okay. They're saying these are different girls, all of that kind of stuff. All right. But basically it's cap. All right. Talking about, oh, I didn't know anything. I wasn't involved in the day-to-day. I spent no time with him. Bruh, he was at your wedding with the whole fam. He was at your wedding, your personal wedding abroad in another country with the whole fam. So we can't believe you. We cannot believe anything you say. Now, I would like to know more about what he knew. I think everybody is outraged about this situation. Everybody is just dying to find out, okay, what the people around David actually knew about this relationship with the miner. Forget about the murder claims, all right, and people saying that he was responsible for the fact that she was found deceased in the trunk of his car. What were you doing with this 14-year-old runaway backstage at your shows? She was with your family. We're seeing people from the industry. She's backstage. What looks like her hands are wrapped around him in photos that he's taken in the mirror. Your team and your management are probably the only sets of people that can go backstage. How is this miner seemingly being depicted backstage with you? We want answers, okay? We want answers from the team. That means Robert. That means Josh. That means Lane Cooperstein. We want answers from all of these people. What the hell were you doing? What in the Hollywood cultish, just letting dudes run around with minors is going on here? What is going on here? It's a disgrace. So we want answers, and if you guys really got no culpability in it, we're going to need to see more than a bunch of cap on TikTok comments talking about, I wasn't involved. Why is he at your wedding? That's a personal event. That's like a real personal event. Oh, well, he was just there to sing with his whole family. Sounds like cap to me. But look, I feel like he is definitely panicking. Okay, he is in trouble, and I'm going to keep you guys informed about what's going on with that. And until next time, guys, I will just keep you updated. There's a few more David updates that I've got over the last 24 hours, but I'm going to cover those tomorrow because I'm going to wait for maybe some new information to come to light. There's been a couple of things that I've seen posted on the subreddits that some people are saying are debunked, but then other people are saying, no, it's actually what it looks like new pictures of Celeste that haven't been seen before, but they're not confirmed. So I'll keep you guys updated. I'm going to look into them a little bit more, and I'll make a breakdown for you guys soon. But thanks for watching this one. I'm out.